I always get goosebumps. I've seen this maybe 4 or 5 times, and every time.
I know, I'm just tearing up. It's beautiful.
There's so many things we could say about that video, but the main point that sticks with me is about the professionals. They don't stop and think that parents need holistic access to all the information available, so that way they can go between whichever communication path feels right at the time. Life isn't one track, there are twists and turns, and you need to be able to adapt.
Also, it depends on the child and what they need.
They need to have options. Maybe one week they feel more comfortable speaking, and the next they feel more comfortable signing. It doesn't matter. What's important is developing identity and sense of self.
Uh-huh. It's so often that professionals insist on only one way to communicate, meaning that when parents meet with these professionals, they've got a predetermined set of things that parents must do.
Oh, you wait until what?
Until they need it, but by then it's too late. And by that, I don't mean it's impossible, but the task is so much harder, and the child always has to put in the work. Give all the options from the beginning, and they can use what language suits them when they want to. Like you said, speak or sign according to how they're feeling, or like she said, becoming Odessa.
Oh, I love that.
Become her true self, because she has full access to language and many people communicating with her. What more could you ask for?
A while ago, I had a quote go viral accidentally. Hang on, what was it?
Auslan is like breathing?
Something like Auslan is not just language.
It's your quote.
Oh, it's a while ago. I sent it to a reporter and they published it.
Because you hit the nail on the head.
I'm going to put the quote on the screen so it's written in English. The Auslan's better. Language is not only communication, it's our oxygen. It's how we live. It's not just a tool.
It's not a backup option. It's central to our being. It's the most accessible way for us. But you're right. If we don't have oxygen, we're done for. And without Auslan, it's just barrier after barrier.
You can't live. You can't express yourself.
I can't even imagine life without Auslan. No signing, I just can't.
It's our identity.
Exactly. People always ask, if you could take a pill and become hearing, would you? No. My whole life and who I am is the way I am because I'm deaf and I have Auslan.
I've met so many deaf people who are late to Auslan. They always say, I can finally communicate with my family. I've known them my whole life, but I've never known them. My grandmother, oh my God. Sometimes she says, oh, I never knew those things about you. I'm like, yeah, because I've never had the chance to tell you that story. I'm always smiling and nodding while you ask me questions, and all I can reply is, good. I want to have deep conversations, but I don't want to rely on my mum to interpret all the time. It's not fair. So
I know that society believes if deaf kids learn to speak and listen, then they'll fit into the wider world. But they forget that at the end of the day, they're still deaf. When they take their hearing aids off, or they get broken, or the battery goes flat, or they have listening fatigue, the entire burden of communication is still placed on the shoulders of the deaf person by hearing adults. And that's why so many people feel that sense of unburdening when they begin to sign. They don't have to use so much brain power to lip read and understand. They're signing and watching, which is less effort, and they can relax.
right. A lot of parents and professionals will think, oh, if they can't speak or they don't have a certain level of hearing, they can't access the world. It's just wrong. Access doesn't mean you are able to participate fully. It means to be able to participate in your own way. That's what accessibility means to me, not to them. Maybe they can't sign. That's okay. But I can learn how to communicate with them in a different way. Signing doesn't put me at a severe disadvantage. It would be lovely if they can sign.
Right, perfect world.
Their attitude is the main thing. If they're willing to try to gesture their way through a conversation, that's enough for me. You don't need to know Auslan. You just need to be willing to communicate with me visually.
Right.
Because if you expect me to lip read, I'm always going to miss out.
It's like at the shops, when I tell people I'm deaf, they get pen and paper and we write. It's not signing, but we get into our own flow and it works.
Oh, if you force me to speak, it means I have to hide my identity, not sign and just lip read. I'm going to get the wrong order. I could go on about this forever, but it all boils down to the fact that professionals don't know everything.
Why do they always say sign later? They need it now. and it'll give them such a better experience of language. I always feel so frustrated because parents receive the advice to only sign later. The kid could have had access to language from the start. Ugh, professionals, what gives them the right? I mean, the term early intervention, it's very medical or education focused, but why doesn't it include Auslan? Auslan should be part of the foundational language learning for deaf kids from day one.
They have until 7 to take in language.
And it should start from day dot even. As soon as you find out they're deaf, start signing. I know parents sometimes feel they can't because they don't know how to sign yet, but it's all right, you can do it. With the right support, the right mentors, you'll find your rhythm.
You will learn together.
She's a paediatrician. She works with children and parents, and she realized she had to learn to sign. She's American, so she's signing ASL, but now look at her. She knows signing is so important, and she communicates with her daughter, who comes home from school happy. What more could you ask for? It's not about your child fitting in society's expectations. It's about a child who can confidently communicate in whatever way they want to.
And we have those resources. We have interpreters and teachers of the deaf who can sign. We need to stop obsessing about hearing aids and cochlear implants alone. I mean, the profit that Cochlear rakes in, why can't they invest some of it in language acquisition too?
I think it's to do with the data. If a child with a CI learns to speak well, then their profits increase. But if a child with a CI signs, then it doesn't fit their narrative.
And those profit margins go down.
But they don't think of the future. What if a child has Auslan and utilises the other tools available to them? More language can only be a good thing. Why don't they see the future? Why only focus on such a narrow scope?
And why is it okay for hearing babies to learn to sign, but not for deaf babies?
Exactly. I recall a post showing a deaf baby whose hands were bound and they were crying, and those hearing babies were signing and happy. They were so robbed.
Right, and if signing early leads to hearing babies developing language faster, it will do the same for deaf babies too. You offer the same exposure. What's the difference?
I always see comments on Facebook like, oh, I wish I knew sign language, or I wish I knew how to sign. So what's stopping you? Professionals read that, and what do?
There's another side to this story. The deaf community needs to be warm and welcoming. We need to have empathy. That's really important. It's not just the parents' responsibility to learn to sign. The community shares responsibility. If there are hearing parents of deaf kids trying to sign, we have a responsibility to give up our time, meet them where they're at, and engage with them. I feel like since the NDIS rolled out, the deaf community has backed off. There are less community gatherings. Where are the spaces for hearing parents to meet deaf people? They're all gone. I recently got involved with a group, and every time a new hearing parent comes, they are so grateful. They can see deaf parents interacting with their deaf kids or even their hearing kids, and they can be part of that conversation. That type of natural, informal environment we don't see enough.
Right? You don't want a formal one-on-one where you have to think of topics to talk about. If it's informal, the pressure is taken off. There's a group I'm involved in. It's so nice. I always make sure to strike up conversations. It's easy for me, but for them it takes effort. It's a whole new world for them. If you say you can't join the community until later, they may never get here. We must make the effort to be open.
And we can't judge them for their decisions either. If they choose a cochlear for their child, or they want to try speaking at home only, whatever, they've turned up and they're here to try.
And the seed has been planted.
Right? So don't treat them based on the decisions they've made, because at the end of the day, it's their child. So their decision will fall on their shoulders. So just leave them be.
And what if they were never given the choice? They were told not to.
Yeah, they were forced.
Like, no, stop, wait. They feel like they have to obey. They don't have the space to say, thanks for your advice, I'll take that on board and choose the options that suit us. Their decision is theirs to make, but they need to have options presented to them. And we need to accept them as they are, not make them feel bad because they didn't start signing years ago.
Intuitively, I feel it doesn't matter what their journey has been to date. Maybe it's been exclusively oral, but at the end of the day, you will never regret being a part of the deaf community. I've never met a family who regrets it. The only hearing parents I've met with regret are those who the deaf community have diminished because of their decision. Be that a cochlear implant or going down the oral path, if you judge them, they're going to leave and not come back. I've met some fourth generation deaf people and everyone's oral because someone way back when put pressure on them and they backpedaled.
It's like they forget the same thing also happened to them. And I think the deaf community needs to rethink how they approach hearing parents who are realizing there may be a better option to what they were told. There are better resources and opportunities now. We can't just shut the door on them.
And don't judge them based on their signing skills either. We're all learning together. This has made me realize you get full immersion in language because of community. And the community needs to be more welcoming to the parents who are trying. That was such a good conversation. Thank you for posting your story.
So good.
I hope it makes people stop and think.
What do you think?